How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the third episode of the Aos-to-Aos podcast. I have my sister, Ginny, who was previously in Aos, so technically it's still Aos-to-Aos podcast.
Technically still in Aos. Haven't changed my name yet.
Yeah, so...
Oops, sorry.
So, we're going to be talking today mostly about, like, freelance writing, some YouTube, some virtual assistant if we get to that, and then we're just going to be bullshitting pretty much the whole time, so it's going to be pretty fun. How's it going?
It's going good. Sorry. I
caught you off guard.
A little bit. It's going good, yeah. I'm happy to be on the podcast. I'm really excited to kind of branch out because my normal YouTube videos are more like lifestyle and makeup and stuff like that, and so it's kind of different to be able to talk about something like my other passion, which is business and stuff. So cool.
Am I your first collaboration?
Technically, I mean, yeah. I mean, definitely the first. So, the first person that I've collaborated with, not the first person that's collaborated with me, if that makes sense. So, I've never gone and been on somebody else's channel. But,
cool. Yeah. So, first time for that. That's cool. We'll have to make a video on your channel or something.
For sure, yeah.
But cool. Let's jump into it. So you are a freelance writer. So
not anymore.
Well, you were a freelance writer at one point, and that's kind of how you made a living when you were starting out, living on your own. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what that's like, how to get started, the hard things about it, how do you get better at writing, things like that.
Yeah, so I was a freelance writer for probably 2 years, and it's actually, in this day and age, that's the great thing about freelance writing is it's so easy to get into. There's no barriers to entry. But there's still, a wide variety of work, so, different people can... it's not one of those things where the barriers to entry are going to make it so that there's too many people and the market's flooded, right? And so I worked on Upwork, which is a website, and there's also Fiverr and Freelancer and all of these different platforms for freelancers. But I chose Upwork because I liked they have a sliding scale for fees so that your fees go down as you make more money with each client, and they just make it really easy, and they have a payment verified. I'm sorry, I'm finding it really hard to look at you while I'm talking.
That's okay.
They have a payment verified, what's the word? Feature where you can see that and if you have that payment verified on the thing, then your payments and the hours that you work and the, if it's a fixed price, then the actual number that you've agreed on, you're guaranteed to get that. There's no way you're not going to get that, which is a really nice thing because with freelance work, you always run a little bit of the risk of losing the money or losing the time spent. You know what I mean? So that's a nice thing.
So there's more security with that one.
Yeah, for sure. And you can also see a lot of people on there. They recently, within the last couple of years, added the... this is, of course, not sponsored.
Right.
But we recently have added the, what's it called? The U.S. only jobs. Okay. So people can say that they want U.S. only workers, and you have to verify your location and all that, and then that's open to only people in the U.S., which really narrows down the market so that you have a bigger chance of getting the jobs. Because a lot of the people that want to do freelance work... a lot of them are in the U.S., yes, but a lot of them are also outside of the U.S. in different areas. So
that's pretty cool. So if you just type in freelance writing, you can probably see a bunch of things, right? You can probably explore your options if you just type in freelance writing on Google. It's pretty popular, huh?
Oh yeah, there's, like I said, I named the ones that I know off the top of my head, which are Fiverr, Upwork, Freelancer. But there's people always looking for ghostwriters. There's even websites where you can ghostwrite. Sorry, I keep saying
That's okay. I say all the time on this podcast. It's nothing new. But what about the challenges getting into it? Is it hard to stay on top of your tasks? What are some of the initial things people should not worry about, but consider when going into it?
Yeah. So that's the nice thing about freelance work is, freelance writing, I should say, because not all freelance work has this bonus, but you have the option to work as much or as little as you want to.
Okay.
So, for example, when I was working 2 jobs, so I was working my job outside the house and still working my freelance writing gigs just to make a little bit of extra money. I wrote 4 or 5 articles a week, right? Mm-hmm. So that's 1 article a night during the work week, and it's about Usually, if you're writing for blog articles and stuff, it's about 300 to 700 words. And that, for me, takes me about maybe an hour to write and proofread and all of that. Because it's really simple topics, and if you know how to write in a blog format, it's going to be easy, and you're going to get the hang of it really well, and then you're going to be able to just churn them out as fast as possible. So, but there have also been times when I would write 6-7 articles a night. So that's, that's a full-time, that's almost full-time.
Do you recommend that, though, writing that many a night? Is it kind of, or do you just have to work up to that point?
Well, I mean, I think it depends, because if you can do it in an hour like I can, or something similar to that, then that's pretty much that equals a full-time job, essentially. Right. So if it's your only job, then yeah, I would totally recommend it if you can keep up with the pace. You have to look at your time spent, though. So if it takes you 2 hours to write a 300-word article and you're writing 6 a night, that's going to be 12 hours of work. And you don't get paid a lot for 300-word articles. Yeah. So you have to look at what you're making hourly. So for me, hourly, I would make like $20 off of a 300-word article.
And do you get paid per word? Or do you get paid?
That depends. I mean, you can charge per word, or you can say this is my base rate for 300, 500, 700, 1200, and so on. You know what I mean?
Cool.
But so, yeah. So for me, like I said, I could make $20 per 300-word article and write a 300-word article in an hour. That's $20 an hour, so that's worth it for me. But if it takes you 2 or 3 hours, then it's minimum wage to $10, so you have to, it's a very personal thing.
Okay, so it also depends on, like, the client as well.
Well, yeah. I mean, if they want articles that are more in-depth and require more research, then you're definitely going to want to charge them more, or else look for a different client if they're not willing to pay for what you're worth, you know what I mean?
Okay, that makes sense. And then my other question about that was, what are some of the resources someone can use to get into it, learning how to write better? Is it on the sites themselves where you take a course, or is it maybe just on YouTube, or maybe take a class? Like, what did you do to improve your writing skills?
So for me, I've always been kind of just like a writer. I've always enjoyed writing. I've been very much into that. Like, I read a lot and all that, and so that's something that I would say is, like, make sure that if you were going into blog writing, go on and read blogs every day.
Yeah.
Read at least 3 blogs. I picked a couple of different blogs that I liked, but I think you need to diversify with what the subject matter is.
Right.
So don't go on and read Lauren Conrad's blog. I'm showing how old I am right now, but
I don't even know who that is.
Exactly. But don't go on and read a fashion blog and then write about business, finance, or whatever. Like, read a fashion blog, yes. And then read a business and finance blog, and then read a cooking blog.
Especially because of, like, the keywords that, like, come up and things like that. You want to understand those languages.
That's another really important thing, is you need to have a solid grasp of SEO, which is search engine optimization. Because every single job that I have ever applied for has required at least a base knowledge of SEO. So that's something that's really important, and you can learn. That's the greatest thing about this day and age, and I've said this before, and I will say it again, is that you can learn anything if you want to.
Right.
That's like the internet. It has an unlimited amount of resources. You can learn more on the internet than somebody could learn in their entire life. You know what I mean? So, a really easy way to get started with SEO is to just watch YouTube videos on it, look it up, and there is so many blogs, which again, read a blog and learn about SEO at the same time. Kill 2 words.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of websites that really just lay it out for you, and you can even Google SEO for subject, or just type in. So, like, I had a client that wanted me to write a lot of articles on baby products.
Okay.
So I would type in popular baby products 2019, and it would pop up with a whole bunch of the most searched for baby products.
Right.
And those are obviously what's being searched for, so they're going to look for reviews on it and all that. And so, or you can type in the keywords. So, like, say you're writing on espresso machines, right? Type in espresso machine, and then you know how autofills.
Right. So
those are the words that are most. Those are the terms that are most searched.
Gotcha.
So you're gonna want to look at that when you're looking at SEO as well.
Gotcha. So look at the first couple examples, and you'll see some examples of the words that are commonly used.
Yeah. So
okay. Cool.
Just a couple of the tricks that I used, but definitely if you are looking into getting into freelance writing, you're going to want to look a little bit deeper into it, because SEO is one of those things where there's, yes, that base level, but there's also, like, it goes so much deeper than that, you know what I mean?
Okay, cool. Do you have anything that you want to add to that for anybody who's starting out?
Yeah, I mean, I would recommend freelance writing more as just for somebody who's like me to do as a side hustle more than a full-time job, because it is really hard, I feel like, it's like very involved work. Like, it makes you just mentally drained.
Right.
But for somebody, I mean, there are people that are great authors, and there are also people that there's even freelance writing for entire books. So,
right.
I mean, it really depends on who you are as a person.
I went on one, it was called Writer's Work, and it had scripts, like for YouTube videos and like TV shows, things like that.
Yeah.
So there's like a whole slew of things you can do on different platforms. You just have to find out what's best for you.
Yeah, for sure.
Another thing you did was online virtual assisting, right?
Right.
For a company. Do you not want to name the company or?
Let's just keep that.
Yeah. So it was for a company. So tell us about like what you did, maybe how you get into something like that, some of the challenges, the rewards, things like that.
Right. Okay, so I worked as a personal assistant for a COO, which, if you don't know, is a chief operations officer for a swimwear company. And that was a really actually interesting experience because as a business major myself and somebody who's always been interested in business, that's a really good way to gain a lot of business knowledge.
Right.
So, I think that it's also an easier way to make a full-time job online because that was a lot more involved. There was a lot more, what's the word, like diversity in the tasks, I guess.
Yeah.
What's the word that I'm trying to use? Not that, but it's okay.
A large variety of like tasks that
Yeah.
aren't necessarily all tied in with each other.
Yeah, it's much less monotonous because you get to switch it up every little while. So,
Right.
So a couple examples of my tasks during that, throughout that job would have been like I created weekly reports, which are going to be basically everything you find on Google Analytics, and also like email and Facebook and Twitter and all of the social media analytics, and essentially just put it all in the same place so that the head honchos could see what's going on without having to go to all of these different sources.
Right.
A couple of the other tasks would be like, of course, being a personal assistant. I also did personal tasks for her, so that was calling places and making payments and making appointments for her and setting up things like that, and so that's also tied into there. And just you call a lot of different businesses, so I was in charge of calling a bunch of textile designers and calling different hotels to see if they wanted us to send a sample and a book, you know? So, I mean, there's just a lot of different things. I can't really even think of them all right now, but
Right.
there was that kind of covers the basis of what I usually do.
Cool. So how did you get into the job? Like, how did you find it? And was the applying process easier or worse than an in-person job? Or like, what was that like really?
I mean, I think that the application process of it was relatively simple because I did it on Upwork as well as the same place that I did the writing. And so essentially you just write up a cover letter and put in how much you want to make per hour. And starting out, the thing that's one of the biggest bonuses, and I don't mind saying, you don't mind if I say the actual nominal amount, do you?
No, I don't care. Say it.
The bonus of it is I, starting out, made $15 an hour at home. So that is the bonus of being a personal assistant because people are willing to pay a little bit more for these, right?
Right.
So the application process was extremely simple. Probably more simple than, or simpler. Sorry, can I start over? The application process was super simple, probably simpler than in-person job, and I also had much less experience than I feel like I would have needed for a actual in-person personal assistant job.
Okay. So you said it was easier than going to an in-person job. Was it because there's just less stress? Like you don't have to worry about like looking presentable, making sure you're not like stuttering, things like that. Is that why it was easier?
I mean, I don't necessarily think it was easier because, I mean, there's definitely pros and cons when you really, when you look at it. one of the bonuses for me is I get to be at home with my son.
Right.
And so that's something that was the biggest thing for me. And so I feel like I was able to forgive some of the cons, which are like you have to be very self-motivated in order to do this job, because there's nobody on you day after day to be like, hey, have you gotten this done yet? Have you gotten this done yet? Which I feel like, judging by some of the jobs I've had in person, that's more the case with those, like, you know what I mean? So,
yeah, I know what you mean. So a lot of it, especially even for like the freelance writing, it's a lot of self-motivation.
Yeah, for sure. Because, I mean, usually you have a deadline. You don't have, hey, I need this done by today. Hey, I need this done by today. Or like the same tasks as you have, like, for example, if you worked in an office, you probably have a series of tasks that you complete every day, right? Whereas you usually so I would usually get like hey, I need 6 articles this week by Friday, right?
Right.
And so that would start on Monday. And like, I like to do it so that I was doing an article a night, right?
Right.
Or an article and a half a night. Or working on, setting a time limit. So I was doing like 3 hours a night. But sometimes, times that I was a little less motivated and organized, I definitely left it all to the last minute. And that's something that you definitely don't want to do, because that was not my best work, and it didn't reflect well on my business. You know what I mean? So,
for sure. So, also, that's another question too, is what are some ways people can keep themselves motivated? Is it like maybe setting reminders, doing like, rewards after you do so much? Like, what is something you did to keep yourself motivated? And what are some things, looking in hindsight, you should have done, like, to keep yourself motivated too?
Yeah, so, and one thing that I did was, with freelance writing and with personal assistant, it would be after I put my son to bed, and I would turn on a TV show. And I could watch the TV show as long as I was working, and I didn't have to worry about cleaning or doing any of the stuff that I needed to do for the household. I could just watch TV.
Right.
And that was the only time that I got to watch TV. I'm a parent, so that's probably mostly why. So, I mean, it's a very individualized thing, so what works for me isn't necessarily going to work for you, but that is what I did. That was my only TV time. So if I wanted my TV time, I better be working.
Right.
Something I wish I had done in hindsight that I do now. I'm not working any longer, but I'm still a full-time student. Is I do time blocking. Being a full-time student, you have to have some semblance of organization, especially if you're going to have kids and a life outside of it.
Right.
So I've started time blocking, where I will, for example, for this semester, I will set an hour to work on my econ forums. Right? So that I can
keep up with it.
So that I can devote my full attention to it, if that makes sense. And then I'll set like 2 hours to clean the kitchen. Right. Right? Well, I mean, that's a little much, but just as an example. And I do wish that I had done that, because, like I said earlier, setting a word limit also works. Like finishing an article and a half or something like that. Working on like 400 words or something would also work, but I feel like having like 2 hour blocks, as long as you're getting all your work done still, I think that would be really helpful for staying motivated.
For sure. All right, that's pretty cool. So, like, pretty much just set a time to do your tasks, devote all your time to those tasks, and then move on to the next one. What do you do if you have extra time? Do you just move on to the next one, or have a little downtime? What do you do?
So, I mean, it kind of depends. With school, if I say I set aside an hour to work on this English paper, and I get done with that, and I still have 20 minutes left, I'll work on my math homework. You know what I mean? So it'll still be in the same realm of school, and the same goes if I'm, like, setting a timer to do my housework or something like that. If I finish with the kitchen in under an hour, I'll go and clean the bathroom. You know what I mean?
For sure. Cool. Okay. All right, so you are also a YouTuber. If anybody doesn't know, we've had our videos linked down below. We're going to have her video linked down below, or not videos, channels linked down below in this video as well. So tell us about YouTube, how you got started. I believe you did have a few before, like singing channels. Those didn't really work out for you. How come? And like,
let's not mention those.
All right, so we won't mention those. But you did start this YouTube channel, and you have been pretty successful. You have a good amount of subscribers on that channel, and you've been making some pretty interesting videos, actually. I even get I know you, and I get kind of into the videos. So, like, kind of talk about that, like how to make more interesting videos, maybe, because I know you've recently kind of learned more about like SEO and stuff like that, and you kind of know how to make more videos that will translate to more traffic to your channel. So talk about that a little too.
Yeah, so I have been doing YouTube now for over 4 years. And I do have 800 and a handful of subscribers, which is awesome.
Right.
But yeah, I think definitely like when you're thinking about YouTube, you're thinking like just make videos and the people will come, right?
Yeah.
Which to a certain extent is true, and I don't think that you should ever go into YouTube or something like that with the idea of I need to make money.
Right.
Because you're not going to make money if that's your idea. You need to go into it because you enjoy doing it, and you need to go into it because you want to connect with people, you know what I mean? And that is initially why I went into it, because I was 17 when I got pregnant with my son, as you know.
Right.
And I wanted to connect with other young moms because I'd watched a lot of young moms on YouTube going through pretty much the exact same thing that I was going through. And it gave me a sense of community, you know what I mean? So I wanted to create that sense of community for somebody else. I wanted to branch out, you know, with it. So, and I mean, it's built into something a little bit different to where now I view it as something that could be, it could be something, you know what I mean?
Right.
Which is great, but I think that even if there wasn't even a small chance that I could make anything out of it, I would still do it because I enjoy it, you know what I mean?
Right. And it fuels you creatively too.
Yeah, it does, because I've always been a very creative person, very artistic and all of that, so it fulfills that part of me that wants to create things, you know?
Right.
So I have, I think that definitely within the last little while, I've been focusing a lot more on quality of videos rather than quantity. So when I first started out, I was definitely focusing on quantity, and I wanted to put out as many as I could because you really, after the first couple of videos and after you get some likes and comments, you really, it like turns into something like it makes you happy and it fulfills you and you want to keep doing it because it makes you feel good, right? And I definitely still have that feeling, but I think that as I've like gotten older and as I've grown with my journey on YouTube, I have wanted to put out more high quality videos. So I've invested into equipment that helps me create the highest quality of videos that I can.
Right. Like
a good camera. I've invested in a ring light and backdrops and stuff like that so that I can create videos that I would want to see.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because I don't enjoy watching low quality videos, so I can't imagine anybody else does, you know?
For sure.
So
once you get like the thing you really like to do, your passion, things like that, then you can start working on the quality and stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, I think that definitely you don't need to have high quality equipment to start out. I started out filming on my little LG phone. Like, it was not good quality, but it's what I had at the time, and I wanted to start, and I'm glad that I did. It's something that, if it's something that you really want to do, like, I don't think that you should wait until you have the money to start it, because I mean, you got to grow with your channel. You know what I mean? So you're going to start out, you're going to be awkward in front of the camera, you're not going to know what to say, you're not going to know what videos to make, and you're just going to make videos that you've seen other people make, right? Right. However, as you get older and as you mature as a person, and your channel will mature with you, you'll be putting together high quality videos altogether. Because I've seen some awesome quality videos with terrible... I don't want to say terrible personality, obviously, but, like, you can tell that they're very shy and awkward, and they don't really feel comfortable in front of the camera, and so
they're forcing themselves to say things. Like, it sounds very scripted and very, like,
absolutely,
repetitive and things like that. Yeah, that makes sense. I even catch myself doing it on here sometimes. I'm like, I should say this or make this video. I'm just like, who cares? Just make a video. Start recording, because, I mean, if I'm interested in something, I'm just going to start talking about it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So I'm not even going to worry about, like, making sure everyone thinks I'm, you know, this person, because I'm not that person. And if I, you know, one day get caught as that who I really am, like, everyone's just going to call bullshit on me. So why don't I just, like, be the person who I am normally on camera? So I understand what you're saying, for sure.
Well, the other thing about that, too, is people can smell a fake person from a mile away. I mean, if you're not being yourself, you might think that you have people tricked, but you don't. Like, they're going to be able to see that you are just putting on a persona for,
Yeah.
and they don't want to. That's what people love about YouTube is like it's very real people doing very real things. You know, they don't want to. If they want to watch a TV show, they'd go onto Netflix.
Right, for sure.
So
if they wanted to see actors, they'd go on to cable or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I mean, they want to see real people doing real things, and so I think people get caught up in this whole "I need to be perfect" idea, and I think that that's really fake because the people that I like watching the most are people that are not perfect, and they're people that mess up and you know what I mean, so
right, yeah.
and can laugh at themselves. So I think that that's kind of what I aspire to be, is as much my authentic self as possible, because I really do feel like people can smell bullshit from a mile away. Like they can see who you are even if you can't.
I think that's funny too. Shane Dawson, who we used to watch him a lot, and he used to do skits, but when he really became popular is when he started doing the vlogs and like the personal things that he really liked to do, and like the realness came out, and that's when he really became popular.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, he was popular before, but he really started gaining more and more subscribers when he, you know, started being real. And not necessarily everyone will get that, but
I also
people like that for sure.
Yeah. Well, I also think Shane Dawson is a very controversial topic as well, because his skits were undeniably a little bit offensive, a lot offensive, racist, and all of that kind of stuff. And I'm not somebody that believes that a person can't change.
For sure.
So I have no problem with somebody being like, I've changed, I'm sorry for what I did in the past, I'm going to make it better, right? And so that is good, but also to the same side of like, that's when he became popular. I think that's also when he became like self-aware of his actions were hurting people.
For sure, yeah.
So I think that, I mean, it all ties in together to make one big likable bundle, but there's a lot of different things, you know?
For sure. Do you think people should just go ahead and create their channels? Like, don't worry about, you know, what other people think. Just go ahead and do it. Even if you don't have a specific, like, niche or niche. I don't know what that is. Niche. To talk about, or the greatest equipment, just do it anyway, right?
I think so, yeah, because that's how I started out. I didn't really know what I was doing. I was doing a lot of makeup videos, and I've kind of moved away from that, so I do a lot of lifestyle videos now, if you've watched my channel at all. For example, like, my channel is surrounding a lot of parenting things, right? And so, for me, as you know, I'm expecting baby number 2, and a lot of my videos right now are going to be surrounding pregnancy and all that kind of stuff, and I think that your channel can morph as you change, you know what I mean?
Right. Like, so like your videos were, like, a long time ago.
Yeah.
They were pregnancy videos, teen mom videos, then a little bit of makeup, you did some like hauls and vlogs and things like that, and now it's kind of coming back around to lifestyle, which is what you kind of really like.
Yeah.
And then also some pregnancy, because of course you can't avoid, you know, your pregnancy.
Right, exactly. Well, then that's what I think definitely that your channel can go through the same life cycles you are, because like I said, that's what people want to see, is they want to see real people, right? And so I think that a lot of times people want to experience life with you if they enjoy watching your channel and they enjoy you as a person. Because I know I love seeing my favorite YouTubers go through the life cycles, you know? Right. I love seeing them have kids and get married and all that. And so I think that, like, when you're having kids, your videos can be surrounding kids. When you're trying to build your businesses, your channel can be surrounding businesses. When you're cleaning out your closet, make a video on cleaning out your closet, you know? Like...
Yeah, and your channel changes a bunch. I know we mentioned Shane Dawson, he did that, but also like Joe Santagato, he used to make these videos like reacting to stuff, and he didn't like that as much. At least that's what I've heard. Didn't like that as much, so he kind of changed his channel to like a podcast. He does some of the same stuff sometimes, but kind of changed that, and that's okay, because you can change it if you really want to. You just have to do what you want to do. That's
the thing. That's the great about YouTube and things like that, and pretty much all social media, is very little is permanent. Everything has like a little bit of wiggle room and flexibility to where it can grow and morph and become something completely different if that's what you want. And I've seen a lot of YouTubers start out with very different channels than they ended up with, you know what I mean? Because I think along the way you kind of find out what your niche is.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you do. Okay, everybody, that's it for this podcast. Thank you for watching, if you made it this far. If not, I'm talking to nobody right now. But anywho, thank you to Ginny Diana for coming on to the podcast. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, her podcast, not her podcast. Her channel is going to be linked below. Go check it out. Go subscribe and everything. Make sure to check out our social media. It's all going to be down below. Do you have anything else to add?
No, I mean, comment below if you have any extra questions. I'd love to come on the podcast again and answer any questions that people have. So
hopefully I'll come over to your channel and do a video sometime.
Absolutely, yeah, we should do a budgeting video or something.
Something like that. All right, so thank you for watching again, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Bye, guys.